Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I would appreciate it majorly. So, I saw this segment over at MSNBC about, two persons. This guy gets in the middle of the segment. This guy gets upset with what the other guy says about him, sort of, inferring that his remarks aren't helpful. Craig Fugate, who's a former administrator of FEMA during the Obama administration from 2009 up to 2017, so into the Trump administration. And there's another guy here. His name, I think, is Slav, who I've seen on several programs recently, who seems pretty smart, who also was a part of the Obama administration. I think the Medicare and Medicaid administrator, or head of Medicare, Medicaid, something like that. And I'm going to show you this to you, but what I'm here to show you, and it's an interesting thing because he storms off the set and he says, I don't have the time to listen to this bullshit people or something like that, and he has since apologized, as has the other person, in this. So you'll see both of them, and I'll go through it as quickly as possible without going on and on and on. But, and this guy, he, since leaving government, has his own firm, in Florida, which is probably just himself, maybe more. I don't know. I looked at his LinkedIn page, but he works for a few other what seem to be lobbying firms in Washington, D.C. I think he's in Washington, D.C. when he's making this making this appearance on the show, because he's been there for at least a few weeks, because this is what I'm actually here to show you. Is I'm going to play this segment is this is what caught my attention. That's his wife there, pictured with this famous chef, who I know that face, I know he's famous, but I caught him in a story of where he's helping feed children, poor children in Arkansas during this crisis in Arkansas with the Clinton Foundation. Okay, and that story was just out, a few days ago. And because it was the Clinton Foundation, I don't know, it popped up in my For You portion of Google News, and so I read it. So when I was looking through this guy after watching this segment, and I saw this guy's picture in his Twitter feed, and here he is having him and his wife take a picture and he was at his restaurant eating there on the 24th of February. That's before this crisis barely even began. On February 27th, there was 15 confirmed cases in the United States. This is when nobody was paying attention to this, barely at all. So this is before the 15 confirmed cases. I don't know how many confirmed cases were on the 24th, where he's having dinner at this restaurant and his wife is taking a picture with this guy, who later goes on to work with the Clinton Foundation 3 weeks later to feed poor children in Arkansas. I don't know. If you follow my channel, I say many things, one of which is that I've said that Hillary Clinton lost the election on purpose, and that Hillary and Clinton and Trump have been working together for some time, and that Trump loves to have these basically hand-picked persons, hand-picked critics that he controls, and that they actually become quite useful when he needs somebody to sort of speak up, sort of subtly, and sort of subtly defend him, because they seemingly have credibility, because supposedly they're in opposition to him, and that's what I'm getting at. If you follow along with me, you follow along with me. If you don't, that's okay too. No problem, dude. No problem. So here's the segment, and we'll just go from there. I mean, I kind of laid it out for you, but it's a good segment. Believe me, you want to watch it. It's pretty good.
I've always believed the best way that the federal government can support our governors is to get out of their way, get them funding, use CDC to give guidance. As we're running out of stuff, I'm asking the question, why are we not looking at idle capabilities now? And governors just go contract for that resource. Why wait for the federal government to do it? If the federal government will just go to 100% on protective measures and reimburse them, how much more can states do so we can focus the few federal resources we have in the hardest hit areas?
So I just got some news from Mayor de Blasio here in New York, and there's been a dramatic increase in the number of cases here in New York City, 3,615 positive cases of COVID and 22 fatalities. Currently, to spread that out, there are 980 cases in Queens, 976 in Manhattan, 1,030 in Brooklyn, and 436 in the Bronx, 165 in Staten Island. I'm struck, Andy, by how quickly this has escalated. Just last week, we were considering whether or not some people in this company would go to Florida to cover the primary. That was on, Wednesday. On Thursday, that was off the table. Friday, all travel, it seems, was off the table. And that's just mirroring what's been happening across the country. At first, lockdowns weren't even considered, and now we're seeing lockdowns around the country. What we saw in China seems so draconian. And now people are wondering why we aren't doing these fever tests for people walking into buildings. Why aren't we going out there and aggressively trying to find those who might be spreading symptoms and separating them from the population?
Right. So it's a hard thing for people to grasp. But the number of cases we have right now, and even those tragic figures you just read, are going to seem minuscule in a week. The number of cases we will have will double every 3 days. Right now it's exceeding that. And we have a large number of cases that are untested still. So with all due respect to your other guests, there's not a governor in the country that's waiting for the federal government right now. They are all acting. What they need is coordination, because we have, believe it or not, we have masks. We have a lot of these things. Guess where they are? They're sitting in the supply chain. People are profiteering off of them, or they're going to places where people are hoarding them. Now, that happens in a crisis. It's only by someone looking through the entire system and seeing where those needs are that you can say, stop hoarding them all in Texas. We need them in New York right now while we build manufacturing capability and put them in Texas. So what your other guest is suggesting here is not helpful. We need a great partnership between the federal and state government.
Bullshit people.
Craig, you want to sit down and respond to this? I guess Craig has left. Andy, he doesn't agree with you at all.
I guess not. But look, these are trying times, and everyone's trying their best. And I know I don't know Craig personally, but I'm sure he's working his hardest and trying his best. Everybody is. These are unprecedented times. So understandable that he's frustrated.
You've heard me on many of these.
Okay, so, basically what the individual Fugate from the former administrator of FEMA was saying, very much resembled some of the same things that Trump has said in a recent press conference. Basically that, that the federal government's not a shipping clerk, and, that these governors should go out and procure these things on their own. In fact, there's some stories here where it's actually kind of laughable because they've been outbid by the federal government when they're trying to do that. But, it says Trump earlier Thursday repeated his belief that the onus should be on the states and not the federal government to obtain needed equipment to combat the pandemic, saying the administration is not a shipping clerk for the supplies that could potentially save lives. So, basically what I'm saying is that what this guy was saying sounded very similar to what Trump was saying, and again, even though he's seemingly on the other side of the argument, here he is sort of coming to the rescue to the administration very subtly, on a very liberal outlet, somebody who used to be with the Obama administration, but weirdly, here he is taking a picture with this famous chef that 3 weeks later, and this is before the crisis even began, because he's in Washington. Many people, inside and outside of the government knew this was coming. They did. They had the heads up on this. That's why you're reading about, congresspersons selling stock before this all, went to hell. In fact, this on the 24th, I was just checking, the Dow, was still at 28,000, when he's having dinner with this chef who, like I said, goes on to help the Clinton Foundation to help feed the poor children in Arkansas. But, I don't know. I'm just pointing it out to you. the guy's basically, he's doing it. He's serving his own self-interest as well. He works for a firm, as well as a couple other lobbying firms. He works for this one concern that basically, you know, we're advancing science-based technology to make disaster less disastrous. So, and he's part of the management team there. He's the emergency response expert or whatever. And, you know, I'm sure by saying these things, he's hoping to land some pretty good contracts for this firm from the Trump administration. But, you know, like I said, I mean, I don't know. That seems pretty weird to me that, you know, I just happened to catch in the news that this guy is working with the Clinton Foundation. And that was on the 16th. That's from 2 days ago, okay? This was from the 14th, where his wife is posing with him in his restaurant at Oyamel, and you know, which I guess is a Mexican restaurant in Washington D.C. on the 24th. You know, you know, like I said, February 27th. This is about Richard Burr. You know, the senator who's part of the Intelligence Committee, who supposedly had a private conversation with some, you know, with sort of connected donors, big donors and stuff like that, that, you know, this was coming, and also that he and another, the senator from Georgia, seemingly sold stock before this all, you know, happened. But on February 27th, when the United States had just 15 confirmed cases, that's the 27th. I don't know what. Actually, the 24th, the Trump administration asked Congress for the very first 1.25, and they're just asking for it, for the 1.25 billion, which became 8-something billion on the 21st. As the number of coronavirus cases around the globe continued to climb, the Trump administration began preparing for the virus to arrive in the United States. A significant escalation in the administration's response. At this point, the United States, where Centers for Disease Control and Prevention officials warned of an almost certain outbreak, had 35 confirmed cases. Anyways, just sort of showing that to you, you know. And, you know, you all know what I believe. I think many of you, you know, many of you, this golden paycheck that you've been getting, you know, from the Trump campaign are being, you know, and you're all getting paid, and that's why you're pissed off, because it's coming to an end, you know. You know, you obviously know, and but I think even people who aren't, you know, sort of financially connected to this whole mess of, you know, of this Trump thing, you know, you believe me. I think so. If you don't, whatever, no problem, dude. No problemo. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.